A ban on tents on sidewalks and now a proposal to remove all personal property.
Yeah, it's all part of Honolulu's effort to remove the homeless from public areas. But as new measures are passed, are there any plans for actual enforcement? Joining us live over Skype with more on this story is civilbeat.com editor John Temple. And John, I have to ask you, is this really targeting the homeless?
Well, the sponsors say no. I mean, so you have to hear that they do say no. But in actuality, it clearly is. We had a bill in the past year. The city council's already passed a bill declaring what they call pedestrian use zones. And they wanted the police to enforce them, but the police couldn't do it because they couldn't actually define what land was owned by the city that they could keep the homeless from. So now they have new legislation that is very carefully crafted, allegedly not to target the homeless, but that's clearly what it does.
And John, you actually have to define what a sidewalk is. That's what the council members are looking at, right?
Well, that was the old bill. They decided you had to define what a sidewalk is. That didn't really work. So now what they're doing is saying, you just can't leave your personal property on a sidewalk or in a public park for more than 24 hours. And guess what? Guess who's going to enforce it and may have to take away the goods from homeless people? It's like a parks worker, a guy who's cleaning up the park or cutting a lawn. I mean, you're actually talking about this being enforced by civic workers.
And John, another story that you guys wrote about on civilbeat.com is the story about APEC protests and the rules there. How do these rules compare to the rules when the last big conference came to Hawaii back in 2001?
Well, it's really interesting. In 2001, we developed rules under a consent decree for the Asian Development Bank protests. And those rules are governing how the protests will occur for APEC this November, so to make sure they're peaceful.
Well, John Temple from Civil Beat, thank you so much. And you can read more on those stories on civilbeat.com. Civil Beat's a partner with KITV4. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next, we've got more ahead, so don't go away. Plus, we've got a look at traffic as well.